Have you ever wondered why some men, seemingly ordinary, suddenly pull women toward them without trying? Why there's a magnetic energy around older men that younger men can't replicate, no matter how hard they try? Today, I'm going to reveal something almost nobody talks about, something that will completely change the way you see attraction forever. This isn't about money. This isn't about looks. This isn't about fancy cars or flashy lifestyles. Women aren't turned on by age. They're turned on by something far deeper, something invisible yet undeniable, and once you understand it, it will transform how you approach every relationship, every interaction, every moment in your life. By the end of this video, you'll know exactly why women instinctively feel drawn to men who have lived, learned, and grown through life's storms. You'll discover the hidden forces behind emotional maturity, the power of presence, and the magnetic pull of a man who knows his purpose, and why younger men often miss it completely. I'm going to show you why it's not age that attracts, but the mastery of self, the calm authority, and the inner clarity that comes only from experience and reflection. If you think you've understood attraction before, think again. Most people never see this side of it. Most men waste years chasing what they think women want, only to realize too late that what really matters is invisible, internal, and unforgettable. Watch closely, because by the time this video ends, you'll see the blueprint for becoming the kind of man who doesn't have to try to attract women. Because attraction will naturally follow you, effortlessly. This is the truth nobody tells you, and once you grasp it, nothing about your presence, your energy, or your relationships will ever be the same. When we talk about why older men naturally attract women on a deeper psychological level, we have to start with something most people underestimate: emotional maturity. Not the cliché version people throw around casually, but the real, internal mastery that comes from understanding your own reactions, your patterns, your fears, and your desires. Emotional maturity is the silent language that speaks louder than looks, louder than money, and louder than age itself. Women don't fall for age, they fall for what age often teaches a man: stability, patience, and presence. You see, a younger man often enters a connection the way he enters a competition, trying to win, trying to impress, trying to prove something. But an older man has already lived through seasons where impressing others became exhausting. He has already chased validation and realized it never leads to peace. So he evolves into a man who no longer needs constant approval. His energy becomes calmer, more grounded, more self-contained. That energy is powerful because it tells a woman, I am not here to take from you. I am here to connect with you. And that difference is everything. Emotional maturity shows in the way he listens, not to respond, not to debate, not to defend his ego, but to understand, to feel the weight behind her words, to sense the emotions she cannot articulate. Younger men usually hear what a woman is saying. Older men hear what she means. They listen with emotional awareness, not impatience. And this ability creates instant resonance because the feminine energy opens in the presence of understanding, not judgment. When a woman feels understood, she naturally feels safe. And when she feels safe, she connects deeper. Emotional maturity also shows in conflict. Younger men fight to win, older men fight to resolve. Younger men get triggered easily because their identity is still fragile. Older men stay calm, not because they're emotionless, but because they've learned the cost of losing control. They've learned that raising your voice doesn't raise your value. They've learned that reacting from insecurity destroys things that matter. Their calm is not weakness, it's self-mastery. And women feel that. They feel the man who remains stable even when the moment is unstable. Another dimension of emotional maturity is the ability to hold space. This is something few talk about. Holding space means being emotionally present without trying to fix, change, or dominate the situation. It means allowing a woman to be expressive without fear that you'll shut down, walk away, or turn defensive. Older men often master this because they've already faced life's unpredictability. They've learned that emotions aren't threats, they're signals, and because they understand their own emotional world, they can handle hers with more patience and empathy. And then there is emotional independence. Younger men often attach too quickly, idealize too intensely, or rely on a woman to make them feel worthy. Older men don't operate like that. They've built their identity outside of relationships. They are complete before the relationship begins, so they come into it as contributors, not dependents. That independence is incredibly attractive because it lifts pressure off the woman. She does not feel responsible for his happiness. She does not feel like she must carry him emotionally. She gets to choose him, not fix him. But here is the deepest layer. Emotional maturity creates emotional polarity. A woman naturally gravitates toward a man who can lead not through domination, but through direction and emotional strength. A man who doesn't fear vulnerability, but also doesn't collapse into it. A man who provides clarity when she feels overwhelmed and stability when the world feels chaotic. Younger men often misunderstand this dynamic. Older men live it effortlessly because life itself has shaped them into emotional anchors. When a woman feels a man's emotional maturity, her body relaxes, her mind softens, her guard lowers. She doesn't feel like she has to defend, explain, or be perfect. She feels safe enough to be herself. And that is the deepest form of attraction, when a woman feels like she can finally breathe around you. So remember this: women aren't drawn to older men because of age. They're drawn because older men often embody the emotional strength younger men are still chasing. And any man at any age can cultivate that maturity. The question is simple but powerful: are you willing to grow into the man whose presence speaks louder than his words? When we talk about presence, most people misunderstand it. They think presence is about confidence, posture, or the way a man carries himself physically. And while that plays a role, that's only the surface. Real presence is an energy. It's the silent impact a man makes without trying, without forcing, without performing. And this is where older men naturally stand apart, because presence is not something you learn in your 20s. It is something life chisels into you over time. Presence comes from self-knowledge. A younger man often walks into a room scanning for cues. Do people like me? Am I enough? What do they think? His mind is in a constant loop of seeking validation. And when you seek validation, your energy becomes scattered. But older men don't walk in with this noise in their mind. They walk in with clarity. They are not looking for approval. They are simply existing in their truth. That grounded energy is what women notice immediately, even before words are exchanged. This presence is also tied deeply to experience. Older men have faced uncertainties, failures, heartbreaks, disappointments. Yet they are still standing. They've learned what actually matters and what doesn't. So when they move with intention. When they speak with weight. When they listen without rushing. There is no panic in their expression, no urgency in their energy. They're not trying to catch anyone's attention because their self-worth is not built on external reactions. And nothing is more attractive to a woman than a man who is confident without being loud. Presence is also about emotional regulation. Younger men often feel the need to respond quickly, joke nervously, fill every silence, or dominate conversations. Older men understand that silence is not a threat. Silence can be powerful. Silence allows connection. Silence allows the moment to breathe. A man who is comfortable with silence radiates a quiet authority. He communicates without speaking. Women feel his steadiness, and their own energy shifts in response. They relax, they open, they mirror his calm, and then there is the presence of certainty. Not certainty about everything, but certainty about himself. An older man knows who he is and what he stands for. His values are not flexible just to please others. His boundaries are clear. His world is not chaotic because he has chosen what he wants to invest in and what he will never tolerate again. Women are drawn to this because certainty creates emotional security. It tells her that she won't have to lead him, fix him, or teach him how to be a man. His energy says, I know where I'm going. That direction is deeply attractive. Presence also comes from emotional depth. Younger men often operate from surface level thinking. They chase fun, excitement, and distraction. Older men crave depth, meaning, and connection. They ask better questions. They listen with curiosity. They don't rush intimacy or force chemistry. They allow it to unfold naturally. This creates a different kind of interaction, one that feels more conscious and intentional. Women feel seen, not analyzed, heard, not judged, understood, not overlooked. And that's when attraction moves beyond physical and becomes psychological. What women respond to is the aura of a man who has done his inner work. A man who no longer needs noise to feel relevant. A man who has walked through enough storms that he no longer turns small challenges into battles. A man whose presence alone is enough to shift the emotional tone of a room. That kind of presence is not common. It cannot be faked. And it is why older men naturally stand out among younger men who are still figuring themselves out. But here is the most important thing. Presence is not a gift of age, it is a result of development. A younger man can cultivate this presence too, but he must choose discipline over distraction, awareness over impulse, and growth over ego. Presence is built through reflection, consistency, and emotional mastery. So the question every man should ask himself is simple. When you walk into a room, does your presence speak for you? Or does your insecurity speak louder? Because the man whose presence is grounded becomes the man who is remembered, respected, and deeply desired. Purpose is one of those words that gets thrown around so casually, yet it is the hidden force behind why older men attract women with such effortless magnetism. Purpose is not simply having a job, earning money, or checking boxes in life. Purpose is a deep internal clarity about who you are, what you stand for, and the direction in which your life is moving. And women are drawn to men who embody this clarity because purpose communicates stability, confidence, and vision without the need for words. It's an energy that cannot be ignored. Older men often have a refined sense of purpose because life has forced them to confront its uncertainties. They've faced failures, disappointments, heartbreaks, and moments of doubt, yet they've emerged with a sense of direction. That journey of trials and reflection builds a man whose decisions are informed, intentional, and aligned with his values. Younger men, in contrast, are often still chasing external markers of success, money, status, approval, without a clear inner compass. And women instinctively sense this difference. They feel the man who acts from internal conviction rather than external pressure. Purpose is also intertwined with emotional freedom. A man with purpose doesn't cling, doesn't overcompensate, and doesn't act from fear of loss. He has built his identity outside of relationships, and that independence allows him to engage with others authentically. He is present with a woman not because he needs validation, but because he chooses connection. That distinction is magnetic. Women are drawn to men whose lives have meaning beyond the immediate interaction, men whose presence suggests that they can contribute, protect, and elevate the relationship rather than rely on it for their self-worth. The way purpose manifests is often subtle but powerful. It shows in the decisions he makes, the way he speaks, the way he moves through the world. He is decisive without arrogance, assertive without aggression. He prioritizes what matters and lets go of what doesn't. That clarity, that energy, resonates deeply with women because it communicates security on every level. A man who knows his purpose becomes an anchor, someone whose presence stabilizes rather than destabilizes, someone whose path inspires rather than intimidates. Purpose also fuels ambition, but it is an ambition rooted in vision rather than ego. Younger men often pursue goals to impress or compete, but older men pursue them because they have a sense of legacy, of contribution, of mastery. Women are drawn to that energy because it signals a man who is capable, disciplined, and intentional. A man with purpose has internal gravity. He pulls without effort, leads without control, and engages without neediness. That energy speaks to something primal, the instinct to connect with a partner who can provide direction, clarity, and emotional security. Another aspect of purpose is the ability to integrate life experience into wisdom. Older men have learned from mistakes, learned from success, learned from loss, and now carry the distilled knowledge of those experiences. This wisdom informs their interactions, their decisions, and their relationships. They are not reactive, they are responsive. They don't need to prove themselves in every moment because their life has already proven their resilience, their competence, and their value. Women sense this depth immediately, often on an intuitive, almost subconscious level. Purpose, when combined with emotional maturity and presence, creates a magnetic synergy. A man who knows himself, who commands his energy, and who has a clear direction becomes irresistible not because of superficial traits, but because he embodies something rarer: stability, clarity, and authenticity. That is the energy that women are unconsciously drawn to, the energy that turns attraction into fascination and fascination into connection. So the lesson is clear. Purpose is not about age, it is about alignment. It is about the consistent, intentional cultivation of self-knowledge, direction, and contribution. Every man has the potential to develop this energy, to craft a life so clear and intentional that his presence alone inspires trust, admiration, and desire. The question is simple but profound. Are you living a life that communicates purpose? Or are you drifting through existence hoping someone will notice? Because a man with purpose doesn't need permission. He becomes magnetic, memorable, and impossible to ignore.